right, race fans, Ryan Eho here, and the one and only Bert Lehman. Bert, I heard you called in sick to work. How you feeling? You feeling any better?
I'm still coughing a little bit, but I'm feeling better than I was before. So
How about that, race fans? He's a trooper. He's still on the show. How about that, right? We know what the priorities are. You don't have to leave home, right? I think you were saying when you were sick before, you'd still go, but now with COVID, the people kind of look at you a little bit differently, wouldn't you think?
yeah, kind of. I mean, at work they tell you if you're sick, stay home. So I stayed home. Actually today I slept until 11 o'clock this morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're
So.
inner Scott Bloomquist. All right, fair enough. So, episode 126, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Dirt Track Supply, Watertown, South Dakota, home of the Aero Chassis. They've won a lot of races. Of course, Ron and Trevor both have a lot of wins under their belt, and they do a lot for racers. If you need parts, you need supplies, you need safety equipment, you need tires, you need a new chassis, you need stuff fixed, get a hold of them guys at Dirt Track Supply. They'll take great care of you over in Watertown, South Dakota. So, Bert, first one of the bunch here to actually make it to a dirt track this year, over to the big half mile, the legendary half mile over in Shawano. How was it? Give us your thoughts.
It was good to get back to the track. I mean, actually Saturday was the first day where I really wasn't feeling well, and I slept almost all day on Saturday, but I did go to the races Saturday night, and I felt it's amazing when you're at the track, then you feel really good. So maybe it's that helps you recover.
It's like Advil. It's like therapy, right? I mean, diagnosing you with a little bit of a cough, go to the racetrack, you're going to feel better. So hopefully you're on the mend, but give us a little recap. What happened? I know it was the Dirt Kings opener as well as the opener at Shawano. Give us a little recap on the night. What stuck out to you night number one over in eastern Wisconsin?
Well, I mean, it's not really too surprising, but the track had a little bit of character to it. It's the first race of the year, and they put new clay on in the off season, and we haven't exactly had weather in our area that's been conducive to getting the track ready. I talked to the person who prepares the track, and he said that they added 1.5 foot of clay in the corners and 6 inches on the straightaways. So I mean, that's a lot of clay that they added to the track. So I mean, overall, the track got a little rough, but considering everything, I think it could have been a lot worse.
You got Eldora on right now, right?
Right.
Was it as bad? Was it better or worse than Eldora?
Well, Eldora looks like it's rolling up and making a big cushion in the middle of the track, where Shawano, it seemed like the corners were just a lot of moisture on the bottom portion of the track. And so it was just getting rutted up, especially when the IMCA classes were out there with their skinny tires. It would rut up more. Before the late model heat races and before the late model feature, they did go out and they graded the bottom portion of the track before those races. And like I said, it was rough. I've seen it worse than what it was. I can sit here and say, well, it didn't look too bad, but I'm not the one sitting in the cockpit actually driving the cars. And if I say that, there's probably some drivers out there saying, well, you get in the car and you drive in that stuff. So yeah.
So you said before the show, a lot of whining over there, all crying. The track was great. Yeah. Just kidding.
So no, it was a good night of racing. There were 20 late models there. That's about what you're going to get, because Plymouth isn't open. So there were, I would say, 6 cars from the Plymouth area, and Shawano has roughly 15 to 20 normal drivers. So, 20 cars is about what you're going to get for a full field. I wish it was.
I was a little surprised, right? Was Taylor Shepard there?
No, Scheffler wasn't there.
And to me, that's a disappointment, right? I like Nick Animalink. I like Troy Springborn. I like them guys. But Taylor Sheffler is somebody that I've been kind of watching the last couple of years, a little here and a little there. Man, I wish you would have followed that series because he's one of them up and comers that's on the chip, and I think he would have been fun to watch. I'm a little disappointed that he wasn't there. That means he won't be following the whole series.
No, I mean, he didn't follow the series last year. I mean, he likes to go down and race some of those Northern Illinois tracks during the summer, so that kind of takes him out of some of the races up in this area. But I don't think he was racing anywhere else this past weekend. So
yeah, I didn't see his name at all.
So yeah, I mean, it was disappointing he wasn't there, but it was some good racing. Troy Springborn won the feature, which is actually fitting that he won this race because it was the Larry Colburn race. And Colburn was a good friend of Springborn's, and he passed away. I'm not exactly sure when he passed away. It was fairly recent, though. And so this race was kind of a memorial race in his memory. So it was good to see Troy win, in a race, memorial race for his friend.
Yeah, absolutely. The memorial races are huge. I mean, there's so much history in racing. To be able to do that is cool, but when it's one of your friends or family and you go and get it done, I don't have the hat on, but tip of the cap to Troy Springborn on winning, off to a great start, right? Because Nick Animalink has kind of been the mark over there at the Shawano Speedway. He still got second, I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, Nick started sixth and finished second in the feature, and it was a 25 lap feature, and on lap 19 a caution came out, and Nick caught Troy, and they were both running in traffic, so it would have been interesting how things would have played out if that caution wouldn't have came out. The caution came out, and I talked to Troy afterwards, and I even told somebody else, because like I said, the ruts were in the bottom part of the track in the corners, especially in turns 1 and 2. And I told somebody, as long as Troy runs above the ruts, make Nick try to pass him down in the ruts. And that's what Troy did. And Troy told me after the race, whether it's true or not, but he said that Nick told him that he wasn't going to go down in those ruts to try to pass him. So
both of those drivers are experienced. And of course, Nick had his dad racing for his years. They might get the win pounding the holes, on opening night, but they know what it's going to cost them over the next several weeks. You could break crank shafts. You could break all kinds of stuff. Who knows what? So veteran drivers are usually a little bit smarter than that, especially on night number 1.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. And and it's nice to see some other drivers in victory lane, spread the wealth a little bit.
I know it's some other drivers. Springborn's up front quite a bit. I mean, he actually led, right? He led at the Dirt King series. He led that late in the season last year, so it's no surprise seeing that 81 up front.
Actually, this is his first Dirt Kings victory ever.
Is it really?
Yes.
That is unbelievable to me. I'm surprised by that because he's consistent. Like I said, late in the year last year, he was leading the points. Nick had a couple rough nights there. He took the point lead over. Looked like maybe he was going to, I think it was him or was it Berna? Springborn was up there too. Was that the year before?
That might have been the year before.
Yes, but he's a steady.
But yeah, he's a top runner. He's a top runner.
Speaking of veterans, let's flip the script, right? I mean, between all the classes, give somebody some love over in Eastern Wisconsin. Is there somebody that you got your eye on? Maybe somebody different, somebody new, maybe not just the late models, any of the classes over at Shawano. Is there somebody that kind of caught your attention that might be somebody to watch over there this year?
Well, it looks like Jared Seifert's going to be racing a modified this year. He's raced late models the last few years. But it looks like he'll be racing modifieds. So, I mean, he's a multi-time track champion in a modified. So, I would expect him to get a lot of victories.
Good to see him move back up. Good to see him top class there.
And, on the Dirt King side, Brad Miller, he doesn't like racing half miles. He doesn't like the big tracks, but he's raced Shawano the last couple of years. And in his heat race, he actually made a pass on the outside in turns 1 and 2. So he must be getting a little bit more accustomed to racing big tracks. But he wound up finishing. He finished 3rd in a feature. So
the boy does have the balls to go to the outside.
So yeah, and I don't know if you remember who Brad Miller is, but he's the one who took that nasty flip at Plymouth. Was that last year or the year before?
It's been the year before, but it was violent. I remember that one. That was nasty. Nasty. How about any of the? Did they have all the classes there? Stock cars?
Yeah, all the classes were there. I'll just do some shout outs. I mean, Jerry Munster's back racing at 80 years old. Awesome. in the IMCA modified division, and Kyle Frederick won the IMCA stock car feature, and that feature is always fun to watch because it's door handle to door handle. In Eastern Wisconsin, that division is dubbed the division too tough to tame. So, Travis Van Straten has won the. I should look this up sometime, but he's won like the last 8 years. Won the championship the last 8 years. So I mean,
really?
it's maybe not quite that many, but it's pretty close to that if it's not at that. And it just seems like Van Straten, he may not get the wins, but he's always there at the end of the feature. He doesn't have any DNFs, and that's what. Other drivers will have like 1 DNF in the season, but just 1 DNF is enough to put you out of contention.
That's the difference between track points and, like, say, WISSOTA national points, because some series and national series, they take your best X amount of shows, so you can throw out some of them bad shows, but to win a track championship or maybe the Dirt Kings, you got to be ultra consistent to get that done, and that's a huge thing. Here's a question for you. Speaking of the
just let me do one more thing.
Yes.
And in IMCA modified feature, they ran a 7-lap feature because of the time limit. Lots of cautions, but Connor Walensky got the feature win. But what's notable about the feature win was the Friday of the prior week. He received a bare chassis, and they put him and his crew put that car together in a week's time, and then won the feature.
So they're going to have to try out for Sheldon Hoddenschild's crew, right? That's maybe not overnight, or maybe not like in 2 laps like they do in sprint cars, but that's getting it done for sure. So I got a question on the Dirt Kings, Bert. So they kind of are migrating west, right? They've gone to Jim Falls. Are they going back to Eagle Valley this year? I don't think they're on the schedule.
No.
Red Cedar Speedway in Menominee is on the schedule. Multiple trips over to the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. But you still don't see any of those cars heading east, right? And as a fan, I was looking at my race pass, and I'm thinking, there's nobody else racing. I mean, they'll get somebody. Nobody came, right? So is it a little disappointing as a fan knowing that the series is going over there, but none of those drivers are making the trip east when they have the races over there, even when nothing's going on? What's your thoughts there?
I mean, obviously, it's, being a late model fan, it's disappointing not to get any travelers to come race with them. It was several years ago, Jake Radetzky would come over to race at Shawano, 1 or 2 times a year.
Kent has been over there.
Yeah, Kent has been over there a few times. You get a couple that would drop in now and then. And, I understand, it was only like $1,500 to win this last week at Shawano. So I mean, it's not a huge payout, and with the price,
pretty good. I think it pays back pretty decent, doesn't it?
I mean, the total purse for the late model portion was a little over $11,000, and
similar to a Challenge Series.
And so with the price of gas and stuff, I understand. You're not going to get a ton of cars to travel over, but with nothing else going on, I was hoping maybe you'd get 2 or 3. It always creates a buzz within the grandstand when you get a car that you don't normally see race there,
right?
And but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's unfortunately for Eastern Wisconsin late model scene, if you want to add cars, you have to get them from Western Wisconsin, because to the east you have a big body of water.
right.
They're not going to come from that direction. Where if you're in Western Wisconsin, you can get them from Minnesota and you can get them from Eastern Wisconsin. So you're in a better situation to draw cars from different areas. Where in Eastern Wisconsin, you can only draw from. I mean, you're already drawing from Southern Wisconsin, with the Plymouth cars, and so the only other place is from Western Wisconsin.
So one last thing on the Dirt Kings. You're after night 1. Give me your pick right now to win the Dirt Kings title in 2022.
Well, if Nick Aveling follows the series, he'll win the series.
Bert calls it right there. Certainty. Nick Aveling is going to win it if he follows it, which he's currently second, of course, because he got second. So probably a pretty good pick, but some of them guys might surprise you. Berna, Springborn, some of them guys. Good. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, the other top contenders would be Brett Swedberg, Ron Berna, Justin Ritchie, and Brad Miller. Those would be my top contenders to contend.
And all of those shows have other people hopping in, so you'll see different faces at this series. But as far as the points go, them are the key ones. So some breaking news, and I caught wind of it last night from one of my sources over in central Minnesota. But Brandon Shepard, the Rocket Shep, making the shift to the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. Are you surprised?
I am surprised, just from the fact that it's kind of been, kind of the joke is that the World of Outlaws series is the Mark Richards series. So that's why it's surprising.
How much, okay, so let's face it. Lucas Oil has more money on the line, right? There's more bigger shows. There's more money at the end. So there's more money on the line. Now it sounds like he kind of made that announcement in an interview that he was going to jump over there. Do you think Friday's disqualification for the Droop rule had anything to do with it?
I don't know if it did or not. I mean, according to the press release that they sent out, they kind of decided this, or they at least talked about it early in the season about making this switch. So I don't know if it did or not, but yeah, the timing of it, the conspiracy theorists could look at it that way. But the funny thing about that is, isn't the Droop rule, isn't that what Mark Richards wanted?
That's kind of what the rumor is anyway. So yeah, let's be honest, as a race fan, right? We want to see more good drivers compete against each other on a regular basis, right? No disrespect to the handful that are left in the World of Outlaws, because there's not many, but Madden was leading points. He dropped off, right? Brandon Shepard was currently second or third in points, maybe third behind Blair. He dropped off, right? And those, in my opinion, would be, as far as star power goes in the World of Outlaws, those are two big names, right? Now, I like Dennis Erb Jr. Max Blair's been impressive. I'm a B1 Bomber fan. He's a homer, right? We got Kyle Hammer, who's a rookie. Gustin. We got some different drivers, but when we're talking star power, butts in the seats at racetracks watching this race, Brandon Shepard and Chris Madden, that's two big hits. Could this be I don't want to say a beginning because I think the wheel's been in motion, but is it going to get worse before it gets better for the World of Outlaws?
As far as losing more drivers, I don't know if they're. I don't think they'll lose any more drivers. I mean, well, as you were talking, something popped into my mind. You might know the answer to this. Does Lucas's schedule not conflict with XR as much as the Outlaw schedule?
I think they both had a couple events that conflicted. I know that they kind of moved things around. All the parties did to kind of take some of them conflicts away. But I think it's pretty even as far as conflict goes. I'd have to look at the rest of the schedule.
Because I was wondering if part of the decision to go to Lucas, well, besides the fact that he's leading points right now, is, they can make more money when Lucas isn't racing. Also, if there's more XR races they can race in, if they're in Lucas versus being in the World of Outlaws series.
And I don't think he likes Bristol, right? I think he's not like a huge Bristol fan, but Brandon Shepard is phenomenal at home. You get him on that Illinois clay. Where are the next two races, right? Granite City and Macon. Them are two tracks he's really, really good at. So part of it might be he just likes some of the tracks. I think I'd have to look at the schedule, but I feel like there's more Lucas Oil races in his area than there is World of Outlaw races. Maybe that's a factor as well.
Could be. And, there comes a time when, he wins the championship every year in the World of Outlaws. And, it's almost a thing of, if I don't win the Outlaw championship, people are going to look down on me. It's not a successful season if I don't win the Outlaw championship, where, now he doesn't necessarily need to win the Lucas championship because he's going to be competing against tougher competition. But if he can win the Lucas championship, that really adds a piece to his resume.
I think in their mind, they need to win the Lucas championship. Let's be honest, right? So speaking of that, right? Okay, so let's talk about the two really quick. World of Outlaws, Lucas Oil. In the World of Outlaws, Dennis Erb Jr. is leading. Max Blair's second. Brandon Shepard still is technically third. Who's your pick right now to win the World of Outlaws?
I will go with Dennis Erb and with the dark horse of Tanner English.
And I'm going to go, I like to see Dennis Erb win. It'd be a really cool story, but Max Blair has been impressive as of late.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go Max Blair, dark horse, Dennis Erb Jr., which I don't know, he's leading, so I don't know if he's a dark horse, but Max Blair would be pick one, pick two would be Dennis Erb Jr. How about the Lucas Oil Series? He's leading right now, right? I think Moran is second, and then Turbo's third, T-Max in fourth. Is it a lock for Brandon Shepard to win this? Who's going to win the Lucas Oil points?
Well, it's not a lock for him to win it, but I would have to say that. Obviously he's leading the points, so he's got the advantage. But I think leading in points at this point, even though there's still a lot of racing left, I would if I were a betting man, I'd bet on Shepard.
Yeah, he's right there. But I tell you, Turbo has been running good, right? He's been legit fast. But I don't know if you saw the news. He's in a Longhorn. Okay, we got Eldora on right now. He's in a Longhorn. Tough to tell tonight. He's in the show. As good as he's been running in that Rocket, is it a mistake for Turbo to jump over to a Longhorn as good as they've been running at this point?
It's definitely a interesting move. I'm not sure what went into the decision. They probably still have a Rocket in the trailer. I don't know if they do or not, but I'm just guessing. I find it kind of strange because I don't know if you watched his interview after he won last week. He goes, Rocket finished 1, 2, 3, and then 4 days later, he's in a Longhorn. So I'm not quite sure what all that means.
It'll be really interesting because I feel that every driver is different, right? So Longhorns are great, Rockets are great, Capitals can be great, right? All these cars can be great. Bloomquist cars some of them run up front. But I feel like every driver meshes with a certain brand a little bit better than others. So it'll be interesting to see how that transition is. I mean, we saw Brian Shirley was horrible in his Longhorn. Horrible. Not even remotely competitive. He's like, I'm done with that deal. I'm going back to Rocket. That don't make Longhorn a bad car. It just means that it didn't fit him. It wasn't working for him. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets the results. Remember Kyle Strickler? I don't remember which way it was. They had the Rockets and the Longhorns, and in one of them, I don't remember which way he stayed last year, but they hated the one cars and they went back to the other. So everybody kind of fits in differently depending on the chassis.
And part of the Strickler deal was with the shocks because, he was running different shocks than what all the other drivers of that chassis were running, and that he said that just didn't work.
No, because that wasn't a good combination at all.
When you call for help, they can't help you because you're not running the same stuff.
Correct. That's a big deal. So let's jump on. Let's shift gears here. Let's go to we got our friend Brad who's jumped in the pick'ems here with us. He had a question for us that he asked. He said, first of all, what's with all, get back to weekly racing. What's with all these classes, right? I mean, in Grand Rapids, Bert, there's over the course of the season, 11 different classes of cars, counting enduros. 11. That is just unnecessary. And people are wondering, it's like, well, man, we got all these 8, 9-car races, 9-car features. Well, yeah, I suppose so when you got 11 classes to choose from, right? I mean, in a perfect world, because I've had people ask me this all the time. Brad asked it again. Let's talk about the classes. If you own, let's say that money fell in your lap and you, Bert, got to call the shots over in your neck of the woods. Because understand, I believe that every location's different here too. But in your region, right, all your tracks, if you were in charge, it was you footing the bill, and you wanting to grow the sport of racing on a weekly basis, what classes would you run and why?
Well, I would run IMCA modifieds, IMCA stock cars, IMCA sport mods, 4 cylinders, and then I would have a rotating division.
What would the rotating division be?
IMCA street stocks, and late models. Those two for sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I mean, this is if I was starting from square one. I wouldn't, and this is tough for me to say because I'm a late model guy, but I wouldn't run late models weekly because there's not enough of them in our area to justify the payout.
So that's BERTLEHMAN on Facebook. Blow him up if you're a late model guy. We're gonna agree. We're kind of on the same page here. And so you wouldn't run late models weekly. There's not enough to really have a good weekly show. Maybe bring them in as a novelty, something along those lines. Specials.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up going to Shawano Speedway, and late models have always been at Shawano Speedway. And I mean, if you would take the late models away from Shawano Speedway, even though you only get like 15 of them, I do believe that your attendance would go down because it's just been a tradition. But if I were starting a track, from square one, I wouldn't have late models weekly.
Yeah, that all depends on location. It's tough. You see a lot. There's not many tracks that have them. There just isn't, especially in Wissota. There's not a lot. I'll talk on my side of things, and I'm going to talk the Wissota region as a whole, okay? The first thing I'm going to say is you don't need, in any situation, you don't need two classes that look alike. You just simply do. Okay. So the diehard fans, they know the difference. But your casual fans, you're trying to build the fan base. You got people coming in, they know nothing about racing, and they're like, why is there two late model divisions? Why is there two mods? Why aren't they racing against each other? I hear that stuff. They're like, they're confused. They don't get it. They're like, well, the cars look the same. Why don't they race against each other? I want to see who's better. They got the same car. Sometimes they don't understand. So sometimes we forget, right, that new fan, the non-typical fan, they don't understand the difference between an A mod and a B mod. They darn near look the same, right? A crate late. You look at some of these 604 crate lates, they look no different than an open late. They look the same. Pure stocks and street stocks, they look the same, basically. You can do a little bit more with maybe a stock car body than you can with a hobby stock or a pure stock, but essentially they kind of look the same, right? So I'm going to preface it by saying you don't need multiple classes of the same type. If it were me, and I'm going to talk the northern region. So we're going to take Grand Rapids, Hibbing, Superior, Proctor, Ashland, those type of tracks in that region. If I was calling the shots, okay, I'm going to hurt some feelings here. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. I'm going to hurt some feelings. And it don't mean I don't like a particular class. I enjoy watching all of them, okay? But we're talking economics here. We're talking building the fan base. There's a lot of variables. You got to have classes, Bert, that I think your focal point needs to be on what the people in that area can actually afford to have, right? John Tardy and I have talked about that. They're like, people cannot afford a $70,000 modified. They just can't. They just can't. So you got 8 of them at every Wissota track, okay? So here's what I would do. The rotating class, I'll get to them in a minute. So the late model sprints, I'm going to come back to them. But I'm going to start with mods. As I said, you don't need mods and B mods. So I'm going to hurt some feelings. First thing that would happen in my neck of the woods, A mods, you're done. There is no more A mods. Done. I like the class.
That's RYAN.
I like the class. I do. That's the last class I raced in. But my goodness, I talked to a buddy of mine. He got a brand new car, $65,000. That's just, it's dumb. It's dumb, right? So I would go to the B mods because A, they're simpler. They're still spending way too much on a B mod. And let's be honest, I've watched some really, really good B mod racing. I've seen good racing in all the classes, but more people can afford to be in a B mod. So the A mod drivers, I know you're upset. All 3 of you are really mad because they're barely. I had a hard time doing the power ranking show last year for the A mods because there is none, and they barely race. And there's like 8 cars at every track. I believe the average, if you take like two nights or 2 tracks out of it, was like 10 per night. That's terrible. Okay, so if the A mod guy wants a big motor, they're like, I don't want to go to a B. Get a late mod. Okay. If you want to be in the open wheel, get a B mod. So step number 1, A mod's gone. Your mod class is B mods. I believe you're going to have a full field if you do that. The next thing I'm going to say is this. And Bert, this one stings a little bit. Kind of hurts. Bothers me. Okay. My favorite class is super stocks. Like everybody knows it. They're gone. They're gone. No more supers. Out. Eliminate. People are going, what the hell are you talking about? What I would do is I would intermarriage, because there's only a handful of tracks in Wissota that even have pure stocks. And let's face it, they're putting 10, 15,000 into a pure stock. It's no longer a starter class. That class gone too. Okay, done. Street stocks, unbelievable racing. But the street stock rules, in my opinion, need to be changed. A couple little things. Make it so the motors are the same as a super, kind of so people can bounce or whatever. And give them frickin' screw jacks. What the hell are they doing? They got these stupid shims in all 4 corners, so it just makes it more of a pain in the ass, probably costs more at the end of the day. Put screw jacks in them like UMP and IMCA, okay? And merge those 3 classes together, and I don't care if you call them stock cars like everybody else. I don't care, right? but one class, one, because we're watching some of these races online, like Eldora, they're super stocks and all that. You look at some of these street stock classes, they all look the same. The street stock bodies in some regions look just like super stocks, right? Merge them together, right? Have one stock car class. You don't need three. You do not, under any circumstance, a track does not need super stocks, street stocks, and pure stocks. That like makes no sense whatsoever. They wonder why they got 10 of each. Merge them all together. Plain and simple, call it a day. So now you got B mods, you got stock cars. Your starter class is going to be 4 cylinders. No, not with Soda Hornets. Okay? You do not need to sanction your starter class. That's just driving the cost. Unnecessary. I believe that front wheel drive and rear wheel drive, just mix them all together. You have a 4-cylinder, have at it. Go race. No heats like they do in the South. Do time trials for that class. The fastest group goes in feature A. The second fastest group, kind of split it in half, goes in feature B. That way you have your drivers that are spending a little bit more money, a little bit more knowledge. They're not racing against the 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid trying to figure out how to drive around the track, okay? So split them up. Time trials before the night, 2 features. No, there's your 3 classes, okay? The 4th class, late models and sprints alternating. The WISSOTA late model rules, dumb. They got to go. Stupid, right? Now, I don't think you should go to open late models because nobody can afford that on a weekly basis, right? But they can go one of 2 ways. They can either go like the Dirt Kings Tri-State where they allow open motors in and they put restrictors on them and they do that. But I've heard people say, well, yeah, you can do that. But the minute Pat Dorr comes in with a big wide bore and kicks everybody's ass, then everybody thinks they need one. And now they're going to spend $50,000 on a motor that they don't need. Maybe you go the 604 route. What do I like about the 604 route? You can literally run anywhere in the country and not have to change anything. Okay? 2 things happen there. A, because let's face it, late model guys, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but you are nothing more than limited late models. Is what it is. WISSOTA late models are limited late models. Super late models are on my TV right now. They're at Eldora. Okay? That's late models. That is not super late models. That's late models. We have limited late models. Okay? They're on an island. Bert, let me ask you this. How much do you like it when you're at a track that has a special and you see people come in from a completely different area that you had no clue that they were even coming to that race?
Oh, I love it. I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier in the show. You know, there's a buzz that goes around the grandstand when when there's a car that's not normally there.
Physically impossible in WISSOTA for that to happen in any class. Okay, so that hurts the drivers that say, hey, I want to go race around the country. They got to change all this stuff. Okay, the promoters are sitting back saying, I don't care if my drivers want to go. That most of my drivers don't want to go anywhere. The promoters need to look at it as, what can we gain? Right? When we have special events, are we getting drivers from Iowa, Nebraska, right? Or Illinois? Are they coming? They can't come anymore. They can't. So the 604 rule, that would allow people to come, or even the other way, which I'm not for that because it's a lot of money people can't afford. Either way, but the way they have it now with the late models is just everybody's on an island. Bad deal. Same thing with that stock car class I was talking about. They got IMCA stock cars, USRA, UMP. Why not just make them very close to them so there can be some intermarriage, right? Midwest mods are pretty darn close when it comes to like USRA B mods and IMCA and stuff. They can actually compete, but make them the same so people can intermarriage. But I would alternate back and forth the late models and then the non-wing sprints, which I think is a growing class, especially up in our area. So there would be, Bert, 4 classes of cars. 4. That's all you need. 4 classes, right? A modified class of some kind, a stock car class, a starter class, and then alternate the late models and the non-wings. And if that track, it has money, right? Because a lot of the club run tracks can't afford to pay the late models every week. They simply cannot. They just don't have the funding to do that. But if a track has the funding to do that, Well, then run 5 classes and run late models, non-wings, a mod class, a stock car class, and the beginner class. That's perfectly fine, but don't expect them club run tracks that are on a budget to be able to do that. So probably hurt some feelings, but that's my thoughts on what the classes need to be. Give us your comments. What do you think? Because everybody agrees. Would you agree, Bert? I think everybody agrees that we can't have like 852 classes. It's just ridiculous, the amount of them. Not everybody agrees on what classes, but we can't have so many.
I agree with that. I mean, the only person who wants that many is Puka. And
exactly.
No.
He's not here. So.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, you don't need that many classes. I mean, especially when, the tracks in our area don't have usually 5 classes is the most that tracks will have in my area. But like some of the year-end specials, they'll run 8, 9 classes, and it's just like, oh my goodness.
And some advertise like Cedar Lake, and nothing against, I love Cedar Lake, but they promoted, we got 10 classes of cars at the Legendary 100. I'm like, don't promote that. Like, that doesn't excite people. People are like going, no, stop. And I think they think it's a good thing. And it's like, I'm going, oh God, thank God for Dirt Race Central so I can watch it online and not have to be there. But let's bring us back. Let's jump gears here. Let's go to a blast to the past, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So if you're watching the show, if you're self-employed, if you pay for your own health care, right? If you got to pay out of pocket, if you feel like at the end of the month you could use a little bit more money in your pocket, or you just simply can't afford to get health insurance, I might have an alternative for you. Hit me up. I've been able to save people a ton of money, thousands of dollars a year on health care. Give me a call, give me a text, whatever you want to do. I can get you a quick quote, see if we can help you out. That way you can have a little bit more money to go to races instead of giving it to your insurance guy, right? So, Bert, episode number 126. First of all, do you have any 126s?
I do. I have nada for both of them.
You have no 26s either?
No.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, I couldn't think of any from over in your neck of the woods. So, I have a handful here. And a few of them are kind of father-son deal, brothers, so on and so forth. But I'm going to start with a couple guys I raced against in my favorite class that I just said we should get rid of. But Mike and Charlie Weber. There was 3 Webers, Mike and Charlie, and of course Chris Weber, Whiplash Graphics. Man, he made some sweet ass looking cars back in the day. And Mike and Charlie both had good looking hot rods. Mike, I believe he has at least one WISSOTA 100 win at the Cedar Lake Speedway. Charlie, he's kind of behind the scenes, snapping pictures over there once in a while. But Mike, he was a formidable opponent. I raced against him more than Charlie. Charlie a little bit more laid back. Mike was a little feisty. I may have thrown a tire at him one time, so maybe I was a little feisty too. But he was a hard charger. Always good looking stuff, and both of them too ran over at the Cedar Lake Speedway quite often. John and Kyle Kopp. So Kyle Kopp, we talked about him, an up-and-comer, second or third year now in the WISSOTA Superstock division. He won the Legendary 100 on the last lap. A little bad luck there for Terrence Spacek. But I raced against his dad, John Kopp, in the Superstock as well. Part of the, I guess we'll call it Legendary Kopp family up from northern Wisconsin. You got Don Kopp, that was probably the biggest legend of them all. Brandon Kopp, who was the National Rookie of the Year in the WISSOTA Modified division. But Kyle Kopp, an up-and-comer, keep an eye on that 26. He's got a good hot rod. He's going to win some races this year. And a late model guy from over in North Dakota. And, man, I hope that water goes somewhere. Because I don't know if you've seen, Bert, but up in the Grand Forks, all around that area, they got huge water issues right now going on with flooding and all that because of the god-awful winter that we had. But Mike Bjornsson, a late model guy, Puka probably would recognize that name because he made at least one trip over to the Hibbing Raceway. I believe it was for a Labor Day shootout. You got a picture of his car up here, one of his first ones that he had. But I know he watches the show once in a while, and hopefully I can see him at a race sometime this summer. Another guy over from Wisconsin, another Superstock guy, Rick Hallquist. Him and his brother Steve, we'll talk about him next week. Both formidable opponents. Rick ran mostly at the Rice Lake Speedway, ran over at the Red Cedar Speedway in Menominee as well. I feel like he's still getting after it. He might be in a modified now. I can't remember, but I ran against him in the super stock. And then another guy, I'm not sure if you heard this name. Have you heard Bob Gerke?
I don't recall.
So Fergus Falls, they have the Bob Gerke Memorial Race. He tragically lost his life, I believe, a heart attack a couple of years ago. Super nice guy. I met him racing a modified down in Florida when I was down in Speed Weeks. Had the opportunity to visit with him. Just a great guy. His kid, Ryan Gerke, is a stud. Mullet Nation up on the chip. I mean, this kid is absolutely a hard charger. He is going to win some races this year. But I remember Bob Gerke, and they have a memorial race. Actually, Dan Ebert won that this past year over in Fergus Falls. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this one up. I don't know a lot about this guy, but I hear a lot about him. Bob Percy, a gentleman that ran kind of in my neck of the woods. He ran Hibbing, he ran Grand Rapids. I know he ran some at Proctor and Superior. And this was years back in my dad's day and age. Won a lot of races. I believe Ernie Broadham built his engines. You northern guys from up in Hibbing, every one of you know who Ernie Broadham is. And Ron Lampinen, I believe, owned his cars. And sounds like he got in what was a snowmobile or a bike accident. Something happened. He lost an eye, and I think he was done racing at that point. But Bob Percy, a guy that I heard a lot about. I have another guy, late model guy. You might know this name, the Sniper.
Well, Wayne Chin was a sniper, wasn't he?
That's the one. I found a picture of him. I didn't remember him being number 26 all the time.
No, I remember him being number one.
Yeah.
And I know I know that name because him and Terry Casey had an altercation one time.
Let's hear about this. What do you got?
Well, I don't remember the altercation exactly what happened, but I know that they got into it at one time.
Bert, you're making shit up. Okay, because every one of us knows, and all the Eastern Wisconsin people know, Terry Casey has never got in an altercation at a racetrack. That's just fake news. It's just not happening. And I got one more for you. I got this one from my buddy in the D1, Dustin Dowdy. Good fan of the show, won a bunch of races, got a fresh little baby in their house. This guy here, Bert, 7 races in this pavement style stock car. 0 top 10s. His best finish was a 27th. Hut Strickland replaced this driver. The sponsor was Quaker State.
Oh.
Bernstein owned the car.
Well, is this when Kinser raced in NASCAR?
You got it. So Steve Kinser, King of the Outlaws, little short stint. He won an IROC race at Talladega, but I think it was 1995, I believe. But Steve Kinser in the 26 car, one that I literally would not have remembered, but it has dirt roots, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Steve Kinser is absolutely on the Mount Rushmore of dirt racing. There's not even a question, right?
Oh, yeah. He's probably above all the other drivers.
Right. So that's always fun. I like bringing back some memories there on some 26.
I have Was there a super stock driver, last name Drew, that raced 26? Well, that's 21. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I in the picture that I put up here of Rick Hallquist, he's side by side with Don Drew.
Okay.
And he was in the 21, but yeah, he was a stud. He won a lot of races as well. So we're going to jump into the next section. Of course, we're going to do a little national recap. We'll make this quick. And of course, this brought to you by Brad Parson. And Brad Parson, he's got all you need farmers. Okay, Minnesota, Western Minnesota, especially North and South Dakota. First of all, hopefully you get through all this crap weather so you can get your crop in the field and we can get things rolling here, right? But with that said, get a hold of Brad. They got the products you need to help you increase yields, right? help you increase profitability. And just a little tidbit that he gave me here is if you're dealing with problems like high pH soils, tight, heavy soils, light, sandy soils, cool ground temps, you name it, they have the tools to help you address those problems, right? They have he says right here, it's not too late to get some product for planting. These are liquid products, which are easy to use, made in the USA, which is important. And they have a stout foliar. And they sold out at their Fargo warehouse last year 5 times. So, and the best part he said, and this is worth mentioning, so farmers, no price change like a lot of other fertilizers out there. So feed your crop over the top, give them a chance. They've done a lot of testing. Put his stuff in the ground, do a little testing, and you might be glad that you did. So let's jump into a little late model action. Couple big events, right? They had the XR event down at Alltech. They had the World of Outlaw event over at Atomic in Chillicothe, Ohio. Let's talk about Alltech first. What stuck out to you this past weekend?
That's a big track.
Very.
It was a big track, but there was the first night anyway. There was actually some passing. I mean, Tim McCready started from what? He started 10th, didn't he?
He did. And Bert, I mean, to me, I mean, he kind of quietly got up there. Like, it didn't look like an exciting race, but from 10th, that's getting her done.
Right. I mean, I didn't watch it live. I watched it later, and it's like, you know, as I'm watching it, it's like, well, there's got to be a caution that comes out that gets him close to the lead. But you're right. He just gradually, you know, throughout the entire race, kept moving towards the front and eventually got the lead.
He reminded me of the old school John Canta. John Canta, never flashy. He's not the cushion pounder. He's not the slide job king. But in every one of them 40-lap features for years at the Challenge Series, he would just find his way to the front. And he reminds me so much, T-Mac reminds me so much of John Canta that it's not even funny. Night number two, Superman, Jonathan Davenport, park it in Victory Lane. First win of the year. We're almost to the end of April, and he got his first win of the year. I mean, it's a big one, $50,000 to win, right? Did you think it would take this long? And are you surprised that this is where he got it done?
No, I didn't think it was going to take this long because, I mean, we talked about this on the show last week. You know, I kind of thought he already had a win, but that was back in November when they were wherever they were racing at that time. That just shows how the seasons kind of just blend together now. But no, I didn't think it was going to take that long. And I mean, I guess where he won really didn't surprise me. He can win at any track. So,
right. You know, and the thing is, the car counts weren't extravagant, right? I mean, it wasn't, but the quality of cars at the, I thought it was great. I thought they had great quality of cars over at Alltech. Sounds like they had a really good fan base too.
Yeah, and one thing that, well, it's good to see is normally T-Mac doesn't race anything besides Lucas.
Right.
And it seems like he's racing more of non-Lucas events this year. He's racing some of the XR. He's racing tonight in Eldora in the flow race. So, well, yeah.
There's a lot of money at stake. A lot of money at stake this year. So I'm glad to see that because you're right. T-Mac traditionally just kind of points chaser. Nice to see him branching out. I mean, he's one of the best and parked in Victory Lane along with Jonathan Davenport. Let's jump over to Atomic, Chillicothe, Ohio, and pair of nights over there. Night number 1, Turbo, Tyler Erb, kind of give him a little bit of a beatdown. He was pretty darn quick, but the story, in my opinion, from night number 1, Brandon Shepard, who got second, DQ'd, right? I'm just gonna say it. Me and Jeff got points on that. All the rest of you had D-Shep that night, and we were all thinking, oh man, we all lost a point, but DQ'd for Drew Pool. I haven't heard any details how far off it was or any real details, but that was a big sting in the points for him right there. Turns out that might not be a big deal after all, right? But But Tyler Erb was good on night number 1. Night number 2, what stuck out to you on night 2?
Night 2. I'm having a brain lock.
Well, Bishop rebounded, parked in victory.
Oh, yeah. Bishop rebounded, and actually, if I heard it correctly, that was his first Outlaw win of the year.
First Outlaw win of the year, which tied him with Kid Rocket for the most all time. Like,
maybe that's why they're switching to Lucas, because Mark Richards doesn't want Brandon Shepard to pass his son.
That's what my buddy Jeff Krause said to me. He says, hey, what better way to keep his son on top of the record books than just tell Brandon he can't race World of Outlaw anymore. Conspiracy theories there.
No.
Josh is struggling, man. I mean, he's not running good at all. Now, you know who looked good on night number 2? The B1 Bomber. Brent Larson, his best race of the year. He got 6th, and actually there was a point in time where there was like 4 of them battling for position there. Like, he was legit racy. It wasn't like he held on and got 6th. He was on the move, and it was a race at the end, right? Brandon Shepard won, but Max Blair and Dennis Erb Jr. were legit right there for the win. So I thought that was probably the most entertaining late model race of the weekend, was the second night over at Atomic. Anything else stick out to you in the World of Outlaw realm?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, the Outlaw races, I believe, were better. It was better racing than the XR, just basically because of the size of the track.
Yeah, and I will say this. I mean, I'm not going to say Alltech was terrible, right? I mean,
right.
For a big track, I thought it raced reasonably good. Even the race down at Speed Beach was pretty good. So Alltech is super slippery and so on, but I thought it raced pretty decent. I was pretty okay with it. You're right, though. Atomic definitely better than.
Now is Alltech the racetrack that's going head to head with the Domes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it sure is. So let's jump on over to the sprint car action. Of course, night number 1 rained out. They went to Tri-State over in Hobstadt, Indiana on night number 2. Carson Macedo won an absolute Donnybrook. I'm telling you, like, Bert, if you didn't watch that race, phenomenal. There was a point in that race, maybe halfway through, where it was like a 4-5 car battle for the lead. And I mean, it was highly entertaining. And quite honestly, the track seemed like it was really marbled up, kind of gravelly, but they were moving all over the place. Anything stick out to you from the World of Outlaw sprint cars?
Well, I mean, I watched the World of Outlaw sprint car series. They put together highlights and they put them on YouTube. And what I'm finding out is I need to start watching the entire features. Because, well, the funny thing is, because with the YouTube highlights they put together, it was 3 minutes of, they condensed the entire feature into like 3.5 minutes. And then they had like a 3-minute interview with Macedo after, which is fine. But as I'm watching that, I'm kind of thinking to myself, if you can condense your feature down to 3 minutes, you're really not doing justice to your product in trying to promote it.
Right. No, and maybe they do that for a reason, right? Maybe they want them to subscribe to Dirt Vision to watch the actual replay more than likely. That would be my guess. But good racing, needless to say. So let's jump into a little.
I do want to say one other thing about the sprint car race. So one thing I did notice in my 3.5 minutes of watching the highlights was the size of the crowd. I mean, that place was packed.
Yes, I actually talked to Mark Bush because that's a track that's kind of in his area down there. And when I got my cars to Mark, he's like, you should see the crowd this place gets for the World of Outlaw sprint cars. Unbelievable. And let's face it, the World of Outlaw sprint cars, no matter where they go, they fill the place. It's still one of the greatest spectacles in dirt racing. So late model fans, sorry, but the World of Outlaw sprint cars, and maybe it's just because they don't have racing every single night like late models. That might be part of it too. So let's jump into a little who's hot, who's not, brought to you by our friends over at Blue Line Brews. So if you're a Java drinker, check them out, bluelinebrews.com. A portion of the proceeds go to the families of injured officers, to the families of fallen officers. They have K-Cups, BlueLineBrews.com. Get your favorite blend and get that little boost of energy you need every morning. So, Bert, who's hot?
Well, do you want to go first since I always steal your driver?
Yeah, I'll go first. And this guy here, he didn't win, right? But he's been kind of a non-factor most of the year. But I'm going to go with the high side tickler, Kyle Strickler. A pair of seconds at Atomic, Bert. Started third row in both. By far the best he's looked all year. Kyle Strickler, a guy that maybe can get on the rise. He needs a little bit of momentum. Looked really good this last weekend at Atomic.
And as you're saying that, he is running third right now at Eldora.
I see that. I'm looking up at the screen right now. We got Kyle Larson, Davenport, Strickler. So he's found a little something in that 8 ride.
For my driver, I'm going with Bishop. He got a second, although he was disqualified for that second. And then he won the feature, and he stole all the headlines this week. So
he absolutely did it. He's up in the top 5. Looks like he's 4th right now, too. So who's not? Who do you got? Who's not?
I am going to go with Bobby Pierce. He did not qualify.
I'm guessing Bert
the front up finishing 11th.
You must have got a call there. Did your phone ring?
Oh,
did your phone ring, Bert?
No, it didn't ring.
Okay, yeah, it froze up for a second there. So
no, it didn't.
Then our little
am I back?
Start over. You said you had Bobby Pierce and come back to me.
Yeah, he failed to qualify the first night at Alltech, and then he wound up finishing 11th the next night. So it's a long way to drive to not qualify for one of the races. I mean, that's one of the issues when you don't have provisionals.
It sure is. And he looked good that week prior, so he kind of maybe built a little confidence. But, yeah, he had a pretty off week. I'm going to go with the mailman, Devin Moran. And he got a 5th and an 8th, but he started second row, went backwards both nights. Then he went down to West Virginia and broke something, walled the car. I think he's down at Longhorn right now. That's why he's not at Eldora. But in Speed Weeks, Bert, 20 shows, 11 podiums, 3 wins, okay? Since Speed Weeks, 10 shows, 2 podiums, 0 wins. And he just doesn't look good. Now, maybe the trip down, right, to get their cars gone through, maybe he'll come back swinging, but he hasn't been very good. So let's jump into our Sure Bets of the Week, brought to you by Real Estate by Jay Schmidt. So out in Watertown, South Dakota, if you need land, commercial, residential, whatever it is you may need, the lock of the week, Jay Schmidt Real Estate, 20-plus years in business, a huge racing family, and I tell you what, it's a for sure win to have him help you with your real estate needs. So who's your lock of the week?
My lock of the week is Superman will win one of the flow races, and he's running second right now at Eldora.
I see Strickler slow on the track and pulling in the infield. So something happened to Strickler. There's 2 laps to go.
Flat tire.
Right. Tough break for the high side tickler. But you said Jonathan Davenport will win one, right?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm just gonna say, okay. In fact, I'm not even gonna say. I'm gonna roll the clip. I'm gonna go. My lock of the week is Jonathan Davenport is gonna get his first win of the year. Now, I'm just saying, Bert. 3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks in a row. I said Jonathan Davenport was gonna win one. He did. Incidentally, your lock of the week last week, Brandon Shepard getting a win. You were correct as well. Hey, we're getting pretty good at this thing. My sure bet of the week, and he's looking good right now, right? Young money Kyle Larson. I don't have a win in here, but Kyle Larson is going to win at least one feature at Bristol. He's going to win in the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Don't be surprised if he wins in the Sprint Cars and the late models. Kyle Larson will be in victory lane at the Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend. So, Bert, Let's jump on over to the last lap, brought to you by Zuli's Race Engines. WISSOTA racing season is coming, right? And that means that you're going to see a lot of winners in victory lane with Zuli Race Engines. If you can't beat them, join them. Follow his Facebook page. They post their winners every week, and I can assure you this, they'll be winning some races with Zuli power underneath the hood, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to jump over to the western side of the world. Justin Zeitner, he parked in victory lane night number 1 for the Tri-State Late Model Series, looking to defend his 2021 title. Bert, little side note there. Remember I talk about the open motors with soda motors, so on and so forth? A 604 crate got third. They make that deal work. I'm excited to see that. If they can do it and Dirt Kings can do it, WISSOTA can do it, let's change the rules to get more inclusion and we can get more car counts at all these tracks. Hats off to the Tri-State Late Model season. Bert, little news. Did you see what happened down at the Gap, Bulls Gap, Tennessee?
Yeah, unfortunately, Vic Hill announced that they're basically shutting the track down. And, there was a full press release about it. And, they stated that they had to make all these updates and renovations and stuff. But the line in the press release that caught me was that, because this Bulls Gap is where they had the race that was
Bert froze up there a little bit, so I'm not sure if that's his phone.
Promoted by Kyle Larson.
There we go.
Racing on Flow, and so just streaming success. Yeah, I don't know. You've been freezing up on my end, so I'm not. How much of it did you catch? Me.
We caught most of it, but yeah, you're exactly right. It was
there?
The one that was the Kyle Larson
Flow
race. Yes.
Yeah, and just because you have success streaming an event doesn't mean that the event is successful for the racetrack.
Yeah, it's interesting. And they went on to say, hey, we're not throwing them underneath the bus. There's a lot of moving pieces, right? They also have a very successful engine business. And I know the time commitment it takes to run a racetrack. Could a part of it be with his racing, with him running the track, maybe he's not getting engines out quite as quick as he'd like. Maybe that could be a little bit of it too. So not really sure. So Bert, are you on? We got a little bit of a glitch, but we're gonna make it work. So needless to say, Tennessee Bulls Gap, no more races on the schedule this year. Now, speaking of Tennessee tracks, Bert, did you see that pit guy for the guy in the Legend car do a swan dive over his car and tackle the official at that Wartburg track or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden the driver starts throwing down on, I don't know if it was an official record driver, somebody affiliated with it. Did you see that, Bill?
Yes, unfortunately, I did see that.
So we're going to give a donkey award to that driver and that crew guy because, that is like off the chain. Now, I will say this. 1 lap to go, Kyle Larson, victory lane in the 6. How about that? So I will say this. It looked like it was over. That official pulls up to him, starts kind of getting in his grill a little bit, as you can see on the video here. It looked like it was done. The guy went back to his car. I don't know what was said. I don't know the history. I don't know that. But this is an example of you don't need to escalate a situation. The guy broke. He was already mad. That guy went over, started. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not condoning beating the hell out of a track official. I'm not. But if you know a guy's pissed off, don't go over there and create more issues because nothing good's going to come of it, right? And this guy got booted out. At least 5 different tracks announced that he's not welcome there, lifetime ban. So this guy's racing career is over. Unless he moves to a different state, it's done. I don't know the backstory. I don't know the whole story. Looking at the video, I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's off his chain. And that pit guy, he's kind of like my size. He's not like skinny mini. He was kind of like running down there, and he kind of dove over the car and tackled the guy. Craziness, but donkey award goes to them guys. So we'll stick with Tennessee. NASCAR 2023. Bristol. Back to dirt. Are you surprised?
Yes. Well, I mean, we talked about this. I don't know if it was last show or the show before, about how it was kind of strange that we hadn't heard an announcement if they were coming back, if they're going to make it dirt again. But then when I saw that this race was the most watched Bristol race since 2000.
We got you freezing up there a little bit, Bert. Is your phone? Are you getting text messages or calls?
No, I put it on Do Not Disturb, so I'm not sure what the issue is.
God,
but I mean, next week I do it through my phone. I'll try an iPad next week and see if that works better.
Okay, no big deal. But yeah, incidentally, back to dirt in Bristol. Speaking of NASCAR, I thought it was pretty cool. Jeffrey Earnhardt was on the pole for the Xfinity race at Talladega, which that's Earnhardt country. And he come up short. He got second, but a good run. Could Jeffrey Earnhardt be the next Earnhardt making waves in NASCAR?
I don't know. I'm going to say no.
Man, you're a negative guy. I'm going to go with, hell yeah, I want to see another Earnhardt. NASCAR needs another Earnhardt. So I'm going to cross my fingers, knock on wood. Jeffrey Earnhardt, good luck to you. I hope he can be the guy. So, Bert, this week, you guys got a fresh start last week. This week was Soda Racing opening up. Cedar Lake's supposed to open as well. Jim Falls, but a lot of racing action. And just on that, it was supposed to be last week. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Jake Smith. Of course, him and his dad, Bob Smith, they were going to race in the area last week. Dude, they're hungry. They drove all the way to Humboldt and then all the way to Lucas Oil Speedway with their B-Mod. Got a couple races in, parked it on the podium at Humboldt. So pretty cool to see that. Now, I didn't send this picture. I'm going to post it right now. We talked about we love the old school look to cars, right? Dustin Nelson in the super stock. We saw this in the group thread. Did you see the Brewster Baker throwback for the 46 super stock?
Pretty cool. Yes, yeah,
that's an affordable chassis. He's going to break that car out. That's last year's car, but he's going to run that at Princeton. I'm looking forward to seeing that Brewster Baker throwback car in Victory Lane. So tip of the cap, Dustin Nelson, pretty sweet deal. Another thing in the Wissota realm, Bert, the X Factor, Jesse Glenz. We kind of coined him that, right, a couple of years back. We were talking about late models and stuff, and brand new apparel donning the X Factor name. So follow Jesse Glenz on Facebook. Get your apparel. He's in an SSR late model this year regionally, so I'm pretty excited to see what he can do with a change, see how that's going to transition. But pretty cool to be able to give somebody a nickname. I thought that was pretty fun.
Well, I just want to know what your cut of the sales are going to be.
I get the exact same cut from sales of shirts that I get from his winnings. So same amount. Right? We don't need to get into the details what that amount is, but it's the same number. Okay, so we'll go with that. Advantage RV Mod Tour underway this weekend. I love the tour. I love Ruben. I love mod racing. That's a great deal. But Bert, it was supposed to be I-94 Friday, Huron Saturday, Casino Sunday. I-94, Casino, both canceled. I want your thoughts on, and I get it, because when Huron schedules a show, they got to have it. They got to deal with the city. I get it, right? But this is a tough deal to make modified drivers travel all the way to Huron, South Dakota with these gas prices for one event. Your thoughts? Should they have looked at maybe trying to find a way to postpone
that? I mean, yeah. Oh, they should have at least looked at, or maybe they did. I don't know. But yeah, it's tough to. I mean, we talked earlier in the show about driving from 3 hours from Western Wisconsin to Shawano, to race at a show, and it's tough to make drivers drive a long distance for one show.
Yeah, I know the champion of the series last year, they're from Grand Rapids. That's 7+ hours away to go to Huron for one race. It is what it is. They're gung ho. Everybody's ready to race, so they're going. But that's in this day and age with the cost of fuel and all that stuff, not necessarily the best deal. So let's jump into our current standings in the picks. The old flat-billed guy himself, Puka, he's in first. I just don't get it. Dude don't even barely watch racing right now. He's been busy, and he's leading. I don't even know what the hell to think about that, right? Me and Jeff are tied, one back. I had a big week last week, Bert. Me and Jeff are at 36. You're at 34. Mike's at 11. Brad's at 1. This week, and incidentally, I believe I picked JD tonight, so I gained another one. I don't know who else picked JD, but I know I
picked JD.
You did too. All right, so
nobody picked Kyle Larson?
I don't think so. So
okay.
I might be tied with Puka after tonight. I'm not really sure. But tonight we picked at Eldora. It's Tuesday. We're doing the show tomorrow night there in Brownstown. The World of Outlaw late models are going to be, along with the World of Outlaw sprint cars,
No, wait a minute.
A doubleheader at Bristol. You cut out there again, Bert. So, yeah, doubleheader at Bristol. And then the Lucas Oil late model dirt series is going to be at Tri-City and Macon. So 8 events this weekend, mixed in with all of our local racing. Some of it's already canceled. Some of it's going to happen. Bert, what are you most looking forward to?
Well, with the news of today, I'm looking forward to the Lucas races with Brandon Shepard being a regular on the Lucas circuit.
I'm looking forward to some home cooking, right? I'm looking forward to our home tracks opening up. You know, we'll see what happens with the weather. There's plenty scheduled to open. So I want to talk local racing. We love the national stuff. We do. But I want to talk our local guys and gals. Looking forward to that here this weekend. Advantage RV Series, even though I'm a little questionable on the whole one event, I get it. I understand why they're doing it. I fully get it. I'm looking forward to that race. I don't know if it's streamed or not because usually Huron does not, but I'm looking forward to some home cooking. So, Bert, always a pleasure. Only a couple little technical glitches right at the very end, but overall, a lot of content here this week. Always fun talking racing. Kyle Larson in Victory Lane tonight over at the Big Half Mile in Eldora. Racing tonight. I guess we're posting this on Wednesday. Brownstown tonight. Check it out. Bert, I'm Ryan Aho. That is the Bert Lehman. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.